Going to see now what's making headlines in the French press. Nicholas Rushworth, good morning. They've been having a look at the president, François Hollande, who's marking 4 years in power.
Day for day, Melissa, and of course that makes the front pages of several papers. Let's turn to Le Parisien-Aujourd'hui-en-France, looking at Hollande with a photo and a headline there saying "Il compte sur son bonne étoile." He counts on his lucky star, Melissa. And the photo of choice is there, him looking to the skies and sort of with a sneaky grin on his face, saying, "Well, you know, maybe it will go my way at some point." Now, what we've got in that paper is an actual review of some of the times in the past when that lucky star has actually worked for him. He's actually won that key occasion, May 2011. Remember that DSK was in New York in that Sofitel, and there was a sexual assault incident, and the whole thing unraveled for Dominique Strauss-Kahn. He was a clear favourite, wasn't he, to become the socialist nominee for the French presidency. Hollande got that, and he got the job, didn't he, in the end? Other things that have gone Hollande's way have been a fall in the oil price, lower interest rates from the European Central Bank. He's got those defence contracts in the bag. That's brought billions in. That sort of one way of looking at things, but also Hollande has had a dismal time in the last 4 years just in terms of the economic record, the high unemployment. That terror threat has been horrific for him and for all the French, of course. So let's go to the cartoon, which is suggesting that Hollande will still count on his lucky star there. If you look at it, he goes and sees a clairvoyant. He says, what about 2017? So the next presidential election, and the clairvoyant says, well, you know, all your socialist rivals are about to go to a hotel in New York, the Sofitel, and anything could happen.
What other papers have been looking, Nicholas, also more particularly at his unpopularity?
Well, let's go to the business daily Les Echos, which has got a survey saying that 16% support is where he's at the moment. Look at that graph all the way down. It's very poor showing for him. And it says that he believes at the moment that things are getting better, but in reality that survey showing he's lost 2 points in a month, 17 points in December. Now Les Echos is arguing that's all to do with these protests on the streets that we've been seeing, the controversial reform of employment legislation still in the pipeline and much watered down after all those street protests we've seen. Let's go to the communist daily L'Humanité, which is saying that Hollande lives, well, not in a parallel universe, but certainly in a parallel world. It says those street demonstrations over the last 2 months are simply a sad reflection of his betrayed promises. The reform of the employment legislation is rejected, it says, by 3 out of 4 French people. Things are not going better at all, it says.
Now, one paper has been looking at efforts to root out Islamist radicals in France.
Well, this is Le Figaro. It's front page news for them. This whole effort to try and keep track of 13,000 people believed to be Islamist radicals in the country. 6 million euros are allocated to this for 75 different organizations. It's all a bit of a mess, argues Le Figaro, and there needs to be a coherent national strategy. Now, that figure of 6 million euros is 12 times higher than it was in 2014. And the news from Le Figaro is that the government plans now to open up de-radicalization centers over the next 2 years. In its editorial, it says that this is a war without end. Tolerance of the jihadist threat in the name of respecting human rights would be digging France's tomb, Le Figaro says. Eradicating the Islamic State organization in the Middle East will not succeed in rooting out the threat on home soil. So there you can see the editorial in Le Figaro there, Une guerre sans fin, a war without end. Let's go to a last article. It's in Le Parisien-Aujourd'hui-en-France about not a threat from Islamist radicals, but from the Chinese. A Hong Kong group has bought some land in the center of the country. There you can see the story, Aujourd'hui en France. Beef and milk are attracting Chinese investors, a Hong Kong group, and they've been able to buy 1,700 hectares of land in the Val de Loire. And the paper's there saying, well, there's no checks on this. The government is not in a position to stop this. What are these people doing? These foreign corporations are coming in and taking up French land from French farmers who can't afford to compete because this Hong Kong group has bought above the market rate. So there, the concern, threats from all sides as Hollande enters that final stretch, of course. Will he become president again? Difficult to say.
Thank you very much indeed, Nicholas Rushworth. A look there at the French press this morning.